Buddhāvataṃsaka Sutra. Book 5. The Flower Bank World. Video 5. Beyond the sea of fragrant water, mass of diamonds, is another sea of fragrant water, called reverently adorned jewel parapets, with a world system called outstanding jewel banner. Next to that is a sea of fragrant water called array of jewel banners, with a world system called manifesting all lights. Next is a sea of fragrant water called cloud of sublime jewels, with a world system called universally shining light. Next is a sea of fragrant water called adorned with jewel tree blossoms, with a world system called decorated with beautiful flowers. Next is a sea of fragrant water called array of raiment of wonderful jewels, with a world system called ocean of light. Next is a sea of fragrant water called jewel tree peak, with a world system called jewel flame cloud. Next is a sea of fragrant water called displaying light, with a world system called entering diamond with no resistance. Next is a sea of fragrant water called lotuses adorning everywhere, with a world system called oceanic abyss with boundless shores. Next is a sea of fragrant water called array of beautiful jewels, with a world system called treasury displaying all lands. Such seas are as numerous as atoms in unspeakably many Buddha fields. The one nearest to the surrounding mountains is called Indestructible Sea, with a world system called Lotus Blossom setting decorated with beautiful discs composed of the sounds produced by all the powers of Buddhas. At the bottom of this system is a world called Most Sublime Fragrance, with a Buddha called producing innumerable light beams. Above this, past as many worlds as atoms and 10 Buddha fields, parallel to the world diamond banner, is a world called Ornamental Gates of inconceivably many distinctions, with a Buddha called Immeasurable Knowledge. Above this, parallel to the world Endurance, is a world called Beautiful Flower Treasury of the Light of the 10 Directions, with a Buddha called Lion Eye Light Flame Cloud. At the top of this world system is a world called Ocean Sound, with a Buddha called Gate of Light Flames of the Heaven of Waters. Beyond the sea of fragrant water jewel ramparts of celestial cities is another sea of fragrant water, called Brilliant Light of a Wheel of Flames, with a world system called unspeakably many adornments of all kinds. Next to that is a sea of fragrant water called Jewel Dust Road, with a world system called Everywhere entering infinite spirals. Next is a sea of fragrant water called Containing All Ornaments, with a world system called Jewel Light Shining Everywhere. Next is a sea of fragrant water called Spreading Jewel Nets, with a world system called Array Deep and Thick. Next is a sea of fragrant water called Beautiful Jewel Array Banners, with a world system called Sound of Clear Understanding of the Ocean of Worlds. Next is a sea of fragrant water called Pure Reflection of the Palace of the Sun, with a world system called Entering Everywhere in Indra's Net. Next is a sea of fragrant water called Beautiful Sound of Music of All Drums, with a world system called Round and Full, Level and Straight. Next is a sea of fragrant water called Various Beautiful Adornments, with a world system called Cloud of Flames of Pure Intense Light. Next is a sea of fragrant water called Lamp with all-pervasive jewel flames, with a world system called Various Forms according to the original vows of the Buddha. Such seas of fragrant waters are as numerous as atoms in unspeakably many Buddha fields. The one nearest to the surrounding mountains is called Raiment of Assembled Ornaments. Its world system, called Magically Produced Beautiful Raiment, is composed of the sound of the voices of all the Buddhas of past, present, and future. At the bottom of this system is a sea of fragrant water called Indra Flower Treasury, with a world called Producing Joy, surrounded by as many worlds as atoms in a Buddha field, all uniformly pure. The Buddha is called Stable Enlightened Knowledge. Above this, past as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha fields, parallel to the world diamond banner, is a world called Adorned with Jewel Nets, surrounded by as many worlds as atoms in 10 Buddha fields, all uniformly pure. The Buddha is called Light of Infinite Joy. Above this, past as many worlds as atoms in 3 Buddha fields, parallel to the world Endurance, is a world called Jewel Lotus Lion Throne, surrounded by as many worlds as atoms in 13 Buddha fields. The Buddha is called Most Pure Unwasteful Learning. Above this, past as many worlds as atoms in 7 Buddha fields, at the top of this world system is a world called Jewel Lotus Dragon Light, surrounded by as many worlds as atoms in 20 Buddha fields, uniformly pure. The Buddha there is called All-Illumining Light pervading the cosmos. In these seas of fragrant water, as many as atomic particles in 10 unspeakably large numbers of Buddha fields, are an equal number of world systems, all resting on lotus blossoms adorned with diamond banners in the forms of all enlightening beings, each with unbroken boundaries of ornaments, each radiating lights of jewel colors, each covered by clouds of lights, each with their particular adornments, particular time period differences, particular Buddhas appearing, particular oceans of teachings being expounded, particular beings filling their particular entries in the 10 directions, particular supports by the spiritual powers of all Buddhas. All of the worlds in each of these systems rest on various adornments, connecting with each other, forming a network of worlds, set up, with various differences, throughout the flower bank array ocean of worlds. Then, to recapitulate, the enlightening being universally good, receiving power from the Buddha, set in verse. The flower bank ocean of worlds is equal to the universe. Its adornments are extremely pure, resting peacefully in space. In this ocean of worlds are inconceivably many world systems. Each one independent, they are not all mixed up. In the flower bank world ocean the world systems are well arrayed with different shapes and adornments varying in appearance. The sounds of Buddha's displays are the substance of various systems. Seeing according to the power of acts, the world systems are finely adorned. Polar mountain city networks, circular shapes of whirlpools, immense lotus flowers blooming, they circle one another. Mountain banner palace shapes, whirling diamond shapes, like this are the inconceivable vast systems of worlds. Flames of pearls from the ocean, inconceivable nets of light, the world systems like this all rest on lotus blossoms. The webs of light of each system cannot be fully described. In the lights appear all the lands throughout the seas in 10 directions. Into the ornaments adorning all the systems of worlds enter all the lands, making all visible everywhere. The world systems are inconceivable, the worlds are boundless. Their various fine embellishments derive from the great sage's power. In each of the systems of worlds the worlds are inconceivably many. Some forming, some decaying, some have already crumbled away. Like leaves in a forest, some growing and some falling, so too in these systems thus do worlds form and decay. Like according to the forest the various fruits are different, in these world systems too do various beings live. Just as when seeds are different, so are the fruits they produce. Because of differences in the force of acts, living beings' lands are not the same. Just as the mind king jewel appears in different colors to different minds, when beings' minds are pure, they can see pure lands. Like great dragon kings creating clouds filling the sky, so does the power of Buddha's vows produce the various lands. Just as the magician's arts can make various things appear, due to the force of beings' acts, the number of realms is inconceivable. Just like pictures drawn by an artist, so are all worlds made by the painter mind. Beings' bodies' differences arise from the mind's discriminations. Thus are the lands varied, all depending on acts. Just as the guide is seen in various different forms, so do beings see the lands according to their mental patterns. The borders of all the worlds are draped with lotus nets. Their various features different, their adornments are all pure. In those lotus nets rest networks of lands with various adornments, inhabited by various beings. Some lands are dangerous and uneven. Because of beings' afflictions, they see them in this way. Innumerable kinds of worlds, defiled as well as pure, develop according to beings' minds, maintained by enlightening beings' power. In some lands is purity as well as defilement. This arises from the force of deeds under the influence of enlightening beings. Some lands are made of pure jewels radiating light, with various fine adornments purified by the Buddhas. In each system of lands are ionic fires, inconceivable. While it appears disastrous, the places always remain secure. By the force of beings' acts are many lands produced, supported by wind atmospheres, or resting on water spheres. The phenomena of the worlds are thus variously seen. Yet they really have no origination and also no disintegration. In each moment of mind are infinite lands produced. By the Buddha's spiritual power all are seen as pure. Some lands are made of dirt, their substance very hard, dark, with no light shining, they're inhabited by evildoers. Some lands are made of thunderbolts, mixed up and terrifying, with much misery and little happiness, the abodes of those of scant virtue. Some are made of iron, some of ruddy copper, with stone mountains, steep and fearsome, full of animals. Among the lands are hells, where beings cannot be saved from pain, always in the dark, burned by seas of flame. Some, again, have animals of various wretched forms. Because of their own evil deeds they always suffer affliction. Some see a nether world, oppressed by hunger and thirst. Climbing great mountains of fire, they suffer extreme pain. There are also some lands composed of precious elements, with various kinds of mansions. These are realized by pure deeds. You should observe these worlds, the humans and celestials therein, developed by results of pure deeds. They feel happiness all the time. In each and every pore are unthinkable billions of lands, adorned in various ways, with never any cramp. By the individual acts of beings. These worlds are infinite in kind. Therein are born attachments and differences of misery and happiness. Some lands are made of jewels always radiating boundless light. Diamond lotus flowers adorn them, totally pure. Some lands are made of light resting too on spheres of light, golden, with sandalwood scent, flaming clouds illumining all. Some lands are made of lunar discs, draped with fragrant robes, in a lotus blossom, filled with enlightening beings. Some lands are made of many jewels, their colors without impurities, like the imperial net of Indra, always shining with light. Some lands are made of fragrance, some are diamond flowers. Their forms of crystal light are most pure when looked into. There are also inconceivably many lands made of flower wreaths, filled with phantom Buddhas and radiance of enlightening beings. There are some pure lands all of flowering trees, beautiful boughs spread over sanctuaries, shaded by crystal clouds. Some lands are made of diamond flowers with pure light. Some are sounds of Buddha's teaching, forming boundless networks of rays. Some lands are like the jeweled crowns of enlightening beings. Some are shaped like thorns issuing from magical light. Some are sandalwood powder, some like emanated light, some the sounds in Buddha's aura formed into a wondrous land. Some see pure lands adorned with a single light. Some see many ornaments, all variously superb. Some have for adornments the marvelous things of 10 lands. Some are adorned with everything in 1,000 lands. Sometimes one land is embellished with the things of 1,000,000,000 lands, their various features unlike, all appearing as reflected images. The things of unspeakably many lands adorn a single land, each radiating light, produced by the Buddha's vows. There are some lands purified by the power of vows. In each of their adornments are seen all oceans of worlds. The pure lands realized by those who practice the vows of universal good manifest within themselves the adornments of past, present, and future lands. You should observe, O children of Buddha, the spiritual power in the systems of world, the worlds of the future, all they'll show you, like in a dream. The worlds of the 10 directions, the oceans of lands of the past, all within a single land show their forms, like phantoms. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, as well as their lands, can all be observed in a single world system. The spiritual power of all Buddhas shows many lands in an atom, of various kinds, all clearly seen, like reflections. They have no true reality. There are many lands whose forms are like oceans, and lands like polar mountains are inconceivable in number. Some lands are well disposed, formed like Indra's net. Some are shaped like forests, with Buddhas filling them. Some are shaped like jewel discs, some like lotus blossoms, or octagonal, with all decorations. They're various, and all pure. Some are shaped like seats, some again are triangular. Some are like pure jewels, castle walls, or celestial bodies. Some are like God's top knots, some like the half-moon. Some are like crystal mountains, some like the solar orb. The shape of some of the worlds is like whirlpools in a fragrant sea. Some are spheres of light, purified by Buddha's past. Some are shaped like wheel rims, some are altar-shaped. Some are like Buddha's hair curl, his flesh-top knot, or large long eyes. Some are like Buddha's hand, some like thunderbolts, some are like mountains of flames. Enlightening beings fill them all. Some are shaped like lines, some like seashells. Of infinite colors and forms, their substances are each distinct. In one system of worlds are endless forms of lands. All depend on Buddha's vow power for protection and stability. Some lands last an eon, Some exist for 10 eons, or for more eons than atoms in 100,000 lands. In a single eon lands are seen to dissolve, measureless or countless, or inconceivably many of them. Some lands have a Buddha, and some lands do not. Some have just one Buddha, and some have countless Buddhas. If a land has no Buddha, then a Buddha from another world will mystically appear there to manifest the works of Buddhas dying in heaven and descending in spirit, residing in a womb and being born, vanquishing demons and becoming enlightened, turning the wheel of the unexcelled teaching. According to the inclinations of beings' minds, Buddha manifests various forms, teaching them the sublime truth in accord with each of their faculties. In each Buddha field a Buddha appears in the world, spending billions of years expounding unexcelled truths. If beings are not vessels of truth, they cannot see the Buddhas. If any have the will, they see Buddha everywhere. In each individual Buddha field is a Buddha appearing in the world. The Buddhas in all lands are inconceivable in number. Herein each and every Buddha shows countless mystic transformations, pervading the entire universe, taming the ocean of beings. Some lands have no light. They're dark and full of fear, with pains like knives and swords. Those who see them suffer by themselves. Some have heavenly lights. Some, lights of palaces. Some have sun and moon lights. Inconceivable are the networks of lands. Some lands are inherently luminous, in some the trees emit pure light. There has never been suffering there, due to the power of being's virtue. Some have lights of mountains, some have crystal lights, some are lit by lamps, all the force of being's deeds. Some have Buddha's auras, filled with enlightening beings. Some are lotus blossom lights with magnificent blazing colors. Some lands are lit by flower lights, some by the sheen of fragrant waters, or by perfumes and burning incense. All comes from the force of pure vows. Some are lit by cloud lights, some by jewel oysters lights. The light of Buddha's mystic power can intone gladdening sounds. Some are lit by jewel lights, some by diamond flames. Their pure sounds can shake far-off realms. Wherever they reach there are no pains. Some have crystal lights or lights from ornaments or from enlightenment scenes shining in the crowds. Buddha emanates a great light filled with phantom Buddhas. That light touches all with its glow, pervading the whole cosmos. Some lands are terrifying, with great howls of pain, those voices most bitter and harsh, frightening all who hear. The realms of hells and beasts as well as the netherworlds, these are polluted, evil worlds, from which always come cries of pain and distress. There are some lands that always produce enjoyable sounds, pleasing, in accord with the teaching. This is attained by pure deeds. In some lands are always heard heavenly sounds of various gods, pure sounds of celestial realms, or the voices of leaders of the world. There are some lands that produce wonderful sounds from clouds. They're filled with jewel seas, crystal trees, and music. In the auras of the Buddhas are endless magical voices and those of enlightening beings heard throughout all lands, the voices expounding the teaching in inconceivably many lands, the voices produced by the ocean of vows, the wondrous tales of practical action. The Buddhas of past, present, and future, are born in the various worlds, fulfilling all their epithets, their voices without any end. In some lands is heard the voice of all Buddha's powers. the stages, the transcendent ways, and such teachings are all expounded. The power of the vows of universal good intends wondrous sayings in billions of worlds that sound like thunder shaking, remaining for endless ages. The Buddhas in Pure Lands manifested independent speech heard by one and all throughout the cosmos, everywhere. The end of Book 5.